Have you ever noticed how in Hollywood movies all the villains are played by Brits?
Man, it's good to be bad. In any traditional film, there's always a hero for you to root for, and in some cases, a bad guy to root for. And even sometimes a bad guy's so cool they steal the show and the spotlight and completely overshadow the hero. But then, there's those bad guys so despicable and nasty that you root to see them die. And when they do, damn, it feels good. And today I thought I'd pop my top 10 cherry by making a video on 10 satisfying deaths in movies. Let me be abundantly clear about this though. This is not a best of list. This is just a list of 10 deaths in movies that I think are worth mentioning that I never hear most people talk about. And if this is something you've heard before, then well, good for you, but I'm still making this video. Also, this list is in no particular order, but the ones I have included have to go out in a way that's basically them getting their comeuppance for all the terrible things they've done and suffering for it. In a nutshell, it just has to feel good to see them lose. There's probably a lot more out there, but as of right now, I'm sticking to my guns on what I've chosen. And if this wasn't obvious enough, spoilers ahead for these movies. You've been warned. So yeah, I'm gonna get right to it. This is my 10 satisfying deaths in movies in no particular order.
Oh yes, it's good to be bad.
I'm thinking about the one loose end I haven't tied up. A young girl who's out there somewhere, helpless in the hands of a drooling lunatic.
Stepping back in 2005 Sin City, coming back to familiar territory with Robert Rodriguez once more, but in a completely different fashion than last. There's a recurring element I failed to mention in the last video where in his kids films, he wasn't always fond of the bad guys getting beat up or getting the last straw, but instead having a change of heart, which tends to happen in every single one of his kids movies. But everywhere else, it's blood and blood for all. And let's soften up on the color a bit while we talk about Sin City. And if there's anybody from this movie that deserves all the worst that's coming to him, it's Ethan Rourke Jr. In one of the 4 separate narratives in this movie, one of them follows an aging officer, John Hartigan, played by Bruce Willis, who's hell-bent on catching a criminal who's yet to be turned to justice, and in this case, the senator's pedophile son, Junior. But right before he can claim his 4th victim, Hartigan intervenes by shooting off his left ear, right hand, and even his testicles. No better way to kill a man than to take away his pride.
This man has no dick.
And you'd think his 4th victim would be plenty enough reason to lay him out right there. But no. Before Hartigan can end this pedophilic nightmare, his partner takes him out and mixes up the story, claiming Hartigan was the one who molested the little girl. And for the sake of the little girl's safety, he remains silent so nothing bad happens to her. And the senator even threatens him, saying if he tells anyone the truth, he will kill them. And every charge against Junior is now put on him, making him glutton for punishment. He remains silent for 8 years in prison while the little girl Nancy sends him letters under a different name, until one day he gets a threat from a stranger, a lemonhead mind you, implying they got Nancy. He decides to plead guilty so he can get out and find the perpetrator, later to find that the stranger is actually Junior dealing with a series of side effects from trying to restore what Hartigan took away. And he's put Hartigan in a trap, leading him to a now 19-year-old Nancy, where the yellow bastard plans to finish what he started with her.
You'll scream. Oh yeah, you'll scream! You big fat ugly cow!
You can't get it up unless I scream. You're pathetic.
Mental note, the girl knows too much.
But even with Hartigan's tough heart condition being his greatest weakness, he's able to outsmart the yellow bastard and repeat history one more time.
They take away his weapon. Both of them.
First I'm gonna remove your testicles, then I'm gonna beat your head in until there's nothing left but a puddle of mustard.
Thank you.
There's a lot of movies with delicate subjects as pedophilia, but in a way, none more deserving of punishment in such a satisfying way as Sin City. That sounded way worse than how I wrote it, but you get my point.
I love you, Nancy.
There's been a lot of Stephen King antagonists in the last 40 years that have gotten their just desserts that we all wanted to see. But one that I think that's worth joining the club in a more recent adaptation would be the True Knot cult from Dr. Sleep. Say what you will about the film itself, you could say it's a poor man's sequel to Kubrick's The Shining. Oddly enough, Stephen King hated that version, but it left such a cultural impact that it had to resemble the version he hated. or you could say it's a decent spiritual successor to Unbreakable or X-Men. And in 2019, when all these were released the same year, they could damn well use one. But I won't deny the True Knot cult are a bunch of savages. So in this world, a small percentage of people have similar shining powers like Danny, played by Ewan McGregor. Except this small group band together as a family and extend their life by feeding off of other people's shining powers, which physically manifests into steam. And unless they have powers useful to them, we know who's paying for takeout. Eventually, the leader of their group, Rose, played by Rebecca Ferguson, is telepathically aware of a 15-year-old girl with incredible shine powers named Abra Stone. And that's her name because...
Does anyone know a magic word?
Abracadabra.
If that wasn't enough proof for you, apparently in the book she was born in 2001, and when she was a baby she was able to telepathically predict to her parents about 9/11. Ugh.
But since Abra's shining abilities are the strongest they've ever felt, they set out to find her and use her body as a never-ending vessel of steam. And keep in mind, these people have survived off of killing innocent children and not once feeling an ounce of remorse for what they've done. Rose is their leader, but Snakebite Andy here might as well be the face of their maliciousness. She's their newest member who can telepathically control people, and she has such a nasty cockiness about her that speaks for everyone.
We're friends. You want to help him? I'll take you right home.
You can take me right home.
Trust me.
I trust you.
You're not tired. You want to have a threesome.
I'm not tired. I want to have a threesome.
But when they least expect it...
The fuck?
And I'm all out of bubble tricks. Just fucking parlor tricks.
They get what's coming to them, even though it does suck that Andy gets the last laugh here.
Kill yourself.
No! Billy!
I could barely get to know half your names. Seriously, half of you are never addressed, so you're better off dead anyways.
And even though the first 2.5 hours of this 3-hour movie were completely different from the last half hour that actually resembles the original, it was worth the build-up for an awesome final showdown between Danny and Rose. Throughout the film, Danny mentions the ghosts from the Overlook Hotel have been mentally locked away for years, and basically, as soon as she becomes aware of it in an attempt to kill him, Danny finishes off Rose by himself in probably the coolest way he could.
They're not special. They're starving.
Now that's an ending.
Well, they may not have been on par with Annie Wilkes, but it was worth mentioning at least once.
Another happy landing.
Billy. Billy, I hate Carrie White.
Who? On the topic of Stephen King, Carrie. Don't lie, you remember this movie and the ending, but I'll provide some background for those who don't. In this film, Carrie White is a shy, hesitant girl who isn't at all sociable nor favored by her peers. She gets bullied to no end by the other girls in her class and doesn't get nearly any respect from her teachers. Not to mention her mother is a god-obsessed psycho who disciplines her with the most drastic measures possible, so she's got a lot on her plate. But surprise, surprise, motherfucker! She learns she's telekinetic. She learns how to use this power from a library book. I don't quite understand how that works, but okay. Beforehand, she has little spurts of her powers when she's anxious or freaking out over something, which, considering what they put her through, it's pretty reasonable. But soon, someone in her class named Sue feels bad for her and asks her boyfriend to go to prom with Carrie instead, and while he's hesitant at first, he goes along with it and actually really warms up to her. You can really tell he genuinely likes her. They even get elected prom king and queen and actually win. For once, Carrie feels on top of the world, but there's a recurring subplot with the film's antagonist Chris, who, well... Peppa's blood. And with that, she finally snaps, trapping everyone inside with several hazards and setting the whole school on fire.
Wreck the school, you know you wanna. I agree, destroy the school.
You can decide whether or not they truly deserved it, but she's not done yet as she still has to deal with Chris and her mother.
Hey, I'm working here!
Oh my god! We're having a fire!
Everyone died. The end.
If you find out who did this, I don't care who it is. You understand me?
I understand.
Wind River was awesome. This was the directorial debut of up-and-comer Taylor Sheridan, who started out doing screenwriting for films like Sicario and Hell or High Water. And what we got with Wind River was Jeremy Renner playing a wildlife agent asked to aid in an FBI investigation of the murder of a woman on a Native American reservation. And Jeremy Renner here is a stone-cold badass, but he's also grieving over his daughter who died in a similar way a few years ago, and he's taking on this case as an act of redemption for her. The further they go down the line, they realize her death was at the cause of her boyfriend's drunk friends in a sequence that's actually really hard to watch at times. You see a lot of scumbags like this in movies, but I don't typically get to see them get their just desserts in a way that makes them suffer in the same way their victims did. And this is all handled in a little outside the law way that Renner's character considers putting scumbags like him and the ones who killed his daughter in their place. And in this case, a woman who ran 6 miles in the freezing cold with lightweight clothes and completely barefoot. And Renner is able to
My head!
drag him up the top of a 13,000-foot mountain, and rather than just shooting him and leaving it at that, he gives him the same chance to escape that poor woman did.
What do you want me to do? I want you to run.
One of the lesser known redemption movies that doesn't really get as much credit as it deserves. It's a simple premise, and the mystery itself isn't really that hard to solve, but it does delve with serious issues about the lives of reservations that go missing and remain unaccounted for. And this scumbag got what was coming to him in this small, but effective and beautiful film.
Got time to sit with me? I ain't going nowhere.
Un hijo debe nacer donde quiera que esté su padre. Eso es todo.
¿Quién le ha dicho a usted que la criatura es un varón?
No me joda.
Pan's Labyrinth is amazing and undeniably Guillermo del Toro's magnum opus. It's a beautiful new dark fairy tale that's practically perfect in every way, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it, especially since it has one of the most despicable villains to grace the screen, Captain Vidal. This guy is one of those grade A sadistic bastards with power. In the context of the movie, he's the immediate stepfather of our protagonist, Ophelia, and upon greeting her and her mother, it's pretty obvious he only married her so he can
Belly with my festering seed!
In these conditions, the mother Carmen is sick, and he's really only concerned for her well-being so she can give birth to a hopefully healthy boy for him to raise like himself. And considering all the red flags this guy throws up, you'd wish she just swallowed him.
Oh, come on, man.
This is the type of guy who will slaughter you and your whole family in front of you at even the slightest hint of disrespect.
Si mi padre lo dice, cazaba conejos.
A few moments later.
Not even 20 minutes in, and I already want this guy to be hung by a tree.
Oh dear.
His pride, authority, and legacy are what make him so evil, since he wants to die valiant like his father before him, and he expects his son to remember him the same way. Much like Del Toro's other films, the human antagonists are seen more as monsters than the actual monsters our protagonist encounters. He's condescending towards his wife, he abuses the women around him, anyone who's not his ally, his stepdaughter, and even when she's given the chance to take her little brother away from this oppressor, he takes him away and kills her in cold blood.
You shot me!
Swear to God, this guy makes Michael Shannon from Shape of Water look like Atticus Finch, until he's finally outnumbered by a pack of rebels and ready to die the way his father did.
Decidle a qué hora murió su padre.
Ni siquiera sabrá tu nombre.
Take away a man's pride and he's left with nothing.
Do you know why Queenan went into that building? No. Why the fuck were your guys following him?
I told Internal Investigations to follow Captain Queen.
Why?
That's Internal Investigations business.
If there was anything The Departed achieved, besides finally giving Scorsese his first Oscar 30 years overdue, it made me dislike Matt Damon.
What?
And in this case, his role of Colin Sullivan. In this movie, Leonardo DiCaprio plays Billy Costigan, a recruit hired to infiltrate the crew of a Boston mob boss, Frank Costello, played by Jack Nicholson. At the same time, Matt Damon plays Colin Sullivan, a colleague of Costello's, and infiltrates the Boston Police Department as a mole. Throughout the film, you see both of them back and forth playing good cop, bad cop. And while Costigan is internally frightened to be in the situation, Sullivan seems pretty damn happy about it, if not a little too cocky. And every time the Force is that much closer to catching Costello, Sullivan gives him the advantage so that the Force is always 2 steps behind once again. And he's always putting on that smug face that he has to act surprised, but he's doing this to protect his own ass. His actions even lead him to getting his colleagues killed, and all that he cares about is keeping his identity safe. He even goes as far as killing his father figure / mentor, Costello, and calls him out as a rat.
Rat prick!
Oh shit! A rat! But much like everyone else on this list, it all comes back to bite them in the ass.
Imagine that, you rat fuck.
His girlfriend finds out he's been lying about what he does, she wants nothing to do with him, and guess what? She's got a bun in the oven. With Billy's kid.
Build on Billy with my festering seed!
And throughout the whole movie, no one really seems to see past Sullivan's ruse, except Mark Wahlberg, who's really been able to see through him the whole time.
I run rat fucks like you, okay? I don't like them. Fuck yourself, you piece of shit.
And I'm gonna need the identity of your undercovers.
Blow me, all right? Not literally, though. Unfortunately, there's no promotion involved for you.
He just can't act outside the law without tangible evidence. But since he killed half of his crew and is just about done with this shit, I'm so tired of people thinking we're the same person.
Okay.
There can be only one! Truthfully, it's hard to hate Matt Damon, but this movie made me thankful for his character's demise.
And I say, hey, hey!
Now you're in the sunken place.
Ah yes, Jordan Peele's Get Out. One of the many things that make me ashamed to be white.
Oh boy, open up the window. It's getting all racial up in this piece.
My dad would have voted for Obama a 3rd time if he could have.
I do know Tiger.
Gordon loves Tiger.
Is it better?
Fair skin has been in favor for the past, couple of hundreds of years. Black is in fashion.
If these people were any whiter, they'd be on Glee. I mean, the movie is still spectacular for a directorial debut, especially from a well-known comedian, but the overtly white stuff did make me cringe a bit, but in that sense, it felt like it was doing its job right. Because damn, I wanted to see some white genocide for the Armitage family. In a nutshell, Daniel Kaluuya is hesitant to meet his girlfriend's family, and upon meeting them, senses something sketchy behind the scenes involving their servants and general attitude towards black people. Without delving too much, basically, he finds out they use black people as vessels for their aging relatives by removing their brains and placing them into the black person they lured at.
Of course!
Oh yeah, and it doesn't stop there. Look, don't question the movie science or else you'll ruin it for everyone else watching, but in order for the surgery to work, they have to keep the nervous system intact so that part of them will still be in there somewhere as a passenger, while the brain of the family member will be at the helm. So basically, whoever they captured can still hear and see everything, but 99% of the time, they can scream all they want, but nothing will come out. And if you thought that both the boyfriend and girlfriend were caught in a trap, think again, you dull fool. The girlfriend and daughter, Allison Williams, was the bait this whole time and has brought in dozens of victims for God knows how long. I mean, out of all of them, the mom being a hypnotist, the son being a punchable piece of shit, Allison Williams is a straight up psycho. Her straight bug-eyed look that never seems to leave her natural face, and the way she eats cereal.
What an asshole! Kind of a bummer I can no longer eat Fruit Loops in public.
That's true.
It just freaks people out now.
Bitch, step up to a cereal straw like a champ. And yeah, they all have it coming in the most fuck you way possible.
All together now, yes.
I love you. I love you.
Kill that motherfucker!
What the fuck? Damn it, this movie gets better every time I watch it.
I ate them 2 blunts from the cops can. Tonight's gonna be weird.
I mean, it's sort of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules.
Who are you and what have you done with Hermione Granger?
Okay, because I'm showing clips from Order of the Phoenix, I'm guessing a lot of you think I'm gonna put Dolores Umbridge on this list. And don't get me wrong, she's pretty much the most hated character in the whole franchise, and that she's had not 1, but 2 decent defeats in the franchise. But since this is a list of the most satisfying deaths to the most despicable characters, my vote goes straight to Bellatrix Lestrange. In a whole series based around tween witches and wizards, the adults are the closest thing that seem to resemble actual witches and wizards. But if you want a real witch, who laughs like she hovers over a smoky green cauldron and causing mischief, Bellatrix takes the cake. While most of the sadistic characters in the series are typically poised and articulate, Bellatrix is straight up maniacal and has fun with every killing she makes. When she first appeared in the 5th movie, she automatically was on everyone's shit list, since the first real terrible thing she does is kill Sirius Black, aka the closest thing Harry's ever had to his real family, and being an absolute tease about it. And the movie certainly treats that as a vocal point in Harry's characterization. But in the final film, when me and my friends went to go see the midnight premiere of Deathly Hallows Part 2, our souls were crushed. How to kill the happiest and most fun characters in the whole franchise. Don't kill both of them, just kill one of them so that the other one will have to watch his best friend die. No! No! But let me tell you, you pissed off a brother, but now you done pissed off a mother.
Not my daughter, you bitch!
Can't tell you how many applauses in the theater there were in those 30 seconds alone. And damn, when she finally got what was coming to her after all she's done.
Who's the biatch now?
This isn't happening. No, this is not happening. This is one of those practical joke apps. This is a joke.
But you know,
it's a
I still
joke.
feel like dancing, so, can you guess which film this is from, huh?
What the fuck is going on?
Well, sweet Pacific Rim job! This edition is pretty damn obscure for being so high up on this list, but I just have to talk about this one. In 2016 came an out-of-nowhere film called Colossal. In a nutshell, a down-on-her-luck alcoholic named Gloria, played by Anne Hathaway, is forced to move back to her hometown and restart a healthy life, and on the way she runs into an old friend named Oscar, played by Jason Sudeikis. It's her regular life working as a bartender until, just out of nowhere, a kaiju monster suddenly appears in South Korea and stirs up the world.
I don't think any of us expected him to say that.
Come to find that the monster is somewhat of a solid projection of Gloria that mimics her movements when she stands in the local park. Don't bother asking how it works, the movie tries to explain it, but it's a lot of fakey phony movie science bullshit that just kinda takes you out of the element. After a while, Gloria learns that Oscar also has his own solid projection, but in the form of a giant robot. And only the two of them can do this. As time passes, Oscar starts getting a little carried away with the fun of it and starts to create major tension between the two of them, to the point where he becomes a power-hungry monster himself and starts causing destruction throughout Seoul.
But every morning you're not here, this will happen.
He's an asshole.
So far, can you see why this high rating goes to Oscar? And it doesn't stop there, ladies and germs. Early in the film, when she's hired by Oscar to be the bartender, she finds a closed down side of the bar with a Wild West theme and thinks they should reopen it. Everyone seems to take a liking to that side of the bar, but further down the road when Oscar starts taking control of the situation, Gloria's ex, played by Dan Stevens, comes to check up on her until Oscar's half-chub for her has been stuck up for too long. And the only way to let Gloria know that she shouldn't get any ideas is to light up a fireworks display in that half of the bar that she worked so hard to fix up.
You are a crazy person! Come on, Gloria. I just did the most irresponsible thing you could do in this bar. You wanna know what? Even so, Gloria's not gonna leave with you.
You're a monster!
Jason Sudeikis is really good at playing a smug asshole when he needs to on SNL, but never have I wanted to see him dead more than this film. He's that good at being an absolute sadistic bastard. Thankfully at the end of the film though, I got my wish. Through again movie science bullshit, don't question it, Gloria calculates the exact spot the monster appears in Seoul to take a plane to give Oster a taste of his own medicine by playing gods.
Angry gods.
Put me down right now, you fucking bitch!
And before we get to the top spot, let's go over some honorable mentions.
Authorize.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because
a little
it's so
of it?
much fun, Chan. Get it?
You guys knew I couldn't make a list about movie deaths without mentioning Tarantino. It's basically common knowledge that almost every character in the main cast would end up dead by the end, and sadly most times it's a character you root for. But I won't deny Tarantino has created some bad motherfuckers. See? My wallet even says so.
Shit.
And even if some characters are pure evil, you have a damn good time watching most of them. But if there's any Tarantino character who I despise with such a passion, who deserves every horrible thing coming to them, it's this one. Elle Driver from Kill Bill is one sadistic bitch. Some of you might have thought I should include the whole Deadly Viper assassination squad, but neither of them have the same overjoy of making someone suffer like she does. The rest of them have moved on in some way, but Driver stuck to her guns and kept being an absolute bitch about it. And no, I'm not including Bill. Yeah, sure, he was the one who initiated all these terrible things to happen, but he has such an intriguing zen about him that makes him a really interesting character, and thus I can't hate him. But Elle Driver?
He can be a real cunt.
Even the small things like how she glances over the bride's comatose body makes you want to punch her. And clearly she has one eye because she was once trained under Bill and the bride's teacher, Pai Mei. And because unlike the bride, she was so difficult to work with and thought too highly of herself, she called him a miserable fool and snatched her eye right out.
Are you kidding? I'd give my right eye.
In that one instance, she failed, but did learn from said mistake, but that was only temporary as she admits to the bride that, in that time, she killed him.
I killed that miserable old fool. How do you like the fish head? Miserable old fool. I poisoned his fish heads.
Not only do I despise her for that, but she also did it in such a shameful way that Bill himself said would lower their level, the same way she almost killed her in her sleep. You self-righteous bitch.
That's right. I killed your master. And now I'm gonna kill you too. With your own sword, no less.
Time to die.
Okay, now I'm just gonna have to file that under D for dead-ass bitch.
There's something on your face. It was pain.
And just look at her squirm as the bride crushes her remaining eyeball as her final revenge.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, it's debatable if not completely unconfirmed whether or not she actually died because the film left it sort of ambiguous, but the script did imply that it killed her. And even if that didn't, don't you think that snake would have gotten hungry? Seems kind of like a lose-lose scenario either way, but a win-win for those of us who, much like her, enjoy watching those people suffer. All in all, I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, these are not the most satisfying deaths, just ones that I think are worth mentioning. And if there are more you would have wanted me to include, leave a comment, and who knows, maybe someday I'll make a volume 2 of this list. Don't hold me to that though. And who knows, maybe after this I'll have the confidence to make more top 10s that like I have movie compilations lately. We will see. But until then, have a great day and I'll see y'all next time.
Mole, 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 mole.